we'll start with Eden. Eden, it could be that there are a couple of people, no, it's not scripted, so there are a couple of people perhaps that don't know yet Autoguru. Yes, I think that everyone now knows Geotab. So briefly, for the European audience, who is Autoguru?
Autoguru is an automotive booking and technology company, but we have created a platform called FleetGuru in Australia, which is the largest maintenance authorization and payments platform used by fleet management companies to process maintenance.
That's clear.
Yeah.
Good. Geotab recently announced surpassing the 5 million connected vehicles. I heard that it's now already around 5.6, 5.7 million vehicles. So a huge increase already. Now that's an ocean of data. How do you see AI transforming that raw data into really actionable intelligence for fleets operating across different regions?
So there are multiple questions in itself, so I'll try to get through this. So first of all, data obviously feeds AI. No AI without data. So that's good to have this high number of vehicles, to get access to this large data lake, and then to apply the AI mechanisms on that. AI mechanisms here, I would cite this term AI agents that everyone is now talking about, and maybe to share what we understand with AI agents, that is tools, systems that do first observe the environment, and second, plan what to do, third, act, and fourth, evaluate. So there's a feedback loop in that. And that's exactly what we intend to do, to have these AI agents on various systems running, and then essentially in future talking to each other. For example, that's where we have connections then, that one fleet telematics AI agent can talk to a service planning AI agent from FleetGuru, and then if a vehicle detects a fault code, the agent can immediately then trigger the process and inform FleetGuru, and from there on the workshop as an example. Other examples could be that you think about let's say, OEM AI agent who says, oh, we have a recall on a vehicle. This agent then informs the Geotab system and says, hey, you have a vehicle in your fleet, we need to do a recall. And then this AI agent triggers the next steps. So there are multiple ideas. Probably in reality, there will be more things really to implement than one can think about today.
Okay. But if there is one area where AI is already today in your operation working and has actually replaced even human judgment and delivered that impact, what would you say it is?
So that's basically the core of a fleet telematics system as we have it. Now it's called AI. It used to be called machine learning, whatever. So to give you an example, if you take all the data from, let's say, cranking voltage when you start a vehicle, you have a certain fingerprint, how this cranking voltage of that battery shows up. Now, if there is a deviation from this expected pattern of the cranking voltage, that's an indication of having a fault in the starter battery or an upcoming fault, so you can take action already. You can talk about route optimization, that's already happening today. You can talk about assessing the trips and routes of your fleet and evaluating if a combustion vehicle could be replaced with an electric vehicle. So these are all, not just a few examples, where large data already is applied to make insightful decisions for the fleet manager, and basically now these days it's called AI.
Perfect. Eden. What can you share about an area where, in your operations, AI is really driving forward benefits for the fleet?
Yeah, so we specifically work in the service and maintenance side of a fleet operation. So the economics around your cost centers are really the maintenance itself, and then managing that maintenance, and then obviously the downtime. So those are the three sort of core cost centers. AI is already benefiting all three of those. So, from a maintenance perspective, we're already using AI to price the cost of maintenance, to forecast the cost of maintenance. We've obviously hugely reliant on, historically, on the human input, to price maintenance. But now we really can be very definitive about, what those costs are. And then we can analyze those costs and scrutinize them using real-time data so that we can actually automate some of those decisions. So we start to move into the more efficient sort of management side. There's another emerging trend with AI that's really, really exciting, and that's the multilingual side. So companies like Apple and Google are pioneering consumer-grade, translation services that are real-time. Well, that same technology can be used in a maintenance and management context where you've got activities, and particularly in somewhere like Europe where there's 28 languages being spoken across a fairly small geographical area, which most large fleets operate in all of. You can have service providers or fleet companies making decisions in languages, for example, in Germany, and then analysis happening, in another country like Spain and being translated, in real time. So from a costing perspective, AI is already very active. From a management and efficiency perspective, it's already very active. And the final one is downtime, and that's probably, a big area where we start talking about the agents on agents on agents. So, all the little micro decisions, like, for example, analysing the future of what that vehicle needs to be done. And if there is an inspection or tyres that need to be done, can we get that done at the same time as it going in for a service? Yeah, when we're looking at workshops, what is their availability? How fast do they turn around services? Can we get the vehicle in and out really quickly? Can we pre-organise a replacement vehicle? All of these little micro decisions are really reducing the time that the vehicle's off the road. And that's probably the biggest cost killer, in the whole operation of a fleet.
Eden, you have with your company ambitions to expand, to come to Europe. Yes. In what way is the technology part that you were just mentioning helping you, supporting you, and can perhaps accelerate, let's say, the entrance of your business into the European market, which, as you mentioned, is not always the most easy market?
Yeah, no, traditionally has been very challenging for software companies. So in the world that we work in, we work specifically with fleet management companies. So very large customers, very large portfolios. And there are, three sort of leading platforms globally, a big one in America, there's a big one in the UK, and there's us in Australia and New Zealand. And most of those platforms really operate in English-speaking countries. So I realise there's lots of digital and digitisation in Europe. There are individual, portals and platforms or solutions in many countries, but there isn't a universal one. There isn't a platform that a client can see their entire portfolio across all regions, all markets, all languages. So we're quite excited, about the potential of that, because AI has opened the door, not just to us, I'm sure there's many global software companies that are sort of feeling the same, but AI has brought down the barrier of language and border in a very extraordinary way.
Are you still in the exploring phase with regard to Europe, or do you have a timeline?
Yeah, well, look, being completely transparent, this is the first time that we have presented FleetGuru.ai, which is the fundamental technology that is enabling, this opportunity. Yet we're certainly having a bunch of conversations, so, it won't be long, we'll share some news. Okay.
Do you also talk to each other?
Yeah, actually, Geotab has a, as we call it, marketplace, where third parties can integrate and bring their products into the Geotab platform, and FleetGuru actually is listed on that marketplace. I have to admit, I'm not sure in which region already, but it is listed.
Okay, because Geotab being a telematics company and a data powerhouse, Autoguru being a service expert with lots of experience and expertise when it comes to digital capabilities, you could say that AI creates sort of the intersection of opportunities for both companies. So what is the future of collaboration between telematics companies and service providers? What does that look like?
I mean, the exciting thing about telematics and Geotab and everything that's going on in the telemetry and real-time diagnostics of vehicles is you know exactly what's going on at an extraordinarily detailed level in real time. And I guess, you know, what is the next opportunity, I won't say missing, or next opportunity, is to connect that real-time decisioning to vivid service ecosystems that can, you know, be enabled by AI to act, you know, to analyse, think and act and then report back, which is extraordinary. Now, I don't want you to think for a second that a human being isn't involved in every step of that path, yeah? A lot of people are misunderstanding the role of AI and automation and data. We are the trust layer, yeah? Fleets are managing huge amounts of risk. You know, there's a huge amount of data, there is oversight and care that is required. But what these technologies can do is that they can streamline, you know, repetitive and repeatable tasks with absolute efficiency and accuracy that then allows the people that we're hiring that are overseeing these fleets to use their expertise on the exceptions, you know, where they can really truly add value and spend more time. You know, when we launch a major FMC on the platform, they actually are surprised by how the calls go away, but then all of a sudden they're spending longer on less calls. So they're putting more value into the transactions that really do require their expertise, and we're taking away the noise. It's really, but this sort of relationship, you know, is very important. And for us, we're an invisible layer, we're the action layer. The insight and the data and all of the things that are bubbling along in the vehicle is where, you know, it originates, and we just handle the data for a second and then put it back.
Yeah, it's a perfect symbiosis. So we have all the data from the vehicles, we know what's happening in the vehicles, but we don't focus on those processes thereafter. So that's where you come into the play. So it's really a nice handover, what happens there.
You know already, Eden, that in Europe we are a little bit data scared, privacy, etc. Yes? So, you are from Germany, so you know also that in Germany sometimes it's a tough question that comes up, the data privacy question. A question around that, a little bit broader. How are your companies balancing AI-driven efficiency with ethical data use and human accountability? Perhaps you to start.
Yeah, happy to start. So, yeah, I'm coming from Germany, so this feels natural to talk about these things. And I truly think it is important. So, Geotab prides itself really to be a technology company, and we're moving very, very fast into the AI field. So one of the first things we have done is given ourselves an AI policy. This might sound a little bit technocratic, but I believe it's important. And part of this AI policy is to three things, actually. One is we respect the regulatory framework to its utmost, like GDPR, Data Act. In different regions you have different things. These are the boundaries that you have to respect, and these boundaries are there for good reasons. So there's no way around this. Second is transparency. So we will always be transparent internally and externally, how we apply AI, what we do with AI, how the models work, and so on. And then the third piece is also being responsibly to what we do and only use this purpose-driven. So do not use AI for itself basically, but have a purpose for that and not just for the fun of using it. So these are the three pillars of our AI framework, and that's what we adhere to.
Eden, do you have an AI policy?
Yes, definitely. That's a must, and not only for the way that we use data, but our staff and everyone that touches it. But look, I really want to go out on a limb here and say not all data is equal. So privacy, absolutely. PII, anything to do with, you know, individual or identifiable information needs to be treated very differently to vehicle data, which can be anonymized and scaled. Yeah? We actually have a duty to democratize data. You sit with any significant customer and you show them the reliability and the predictability of outcomes when you have a small data set versus a large data set, and you can get over the conversation of sharing and silos pretty quickly. Yeah? We need to be able to collaborate. We need to be able to share data. We need to be able to make reliable and consistent decisions based on absolute terabytes of data. So, you know, we can't silo it and restrict it. We need to work out a way that we can comfortably share it for the whole community's benefit. Yeah? This industry is incredibly reliant on making good decisions. Yeah? There is a ton of over-servicing happening in the market, I can tell you that confidently. There's a ton of predictable technologies that are coming that are going to be able to, you know, predict when a vehicle is going to break down with a decent level of accuracy if we can properly manage data. So I would say, and a great example is how everyone's feeling about LLMs. Yeah? You know, the truth is we are uploading data into systems that we don't always have, you know, data sovereignty with. That is a really challenging issue, particularly in Europe. And so what does Europe do? Does it not use these systems? Does it just move away from them? Does it build the capability here? Or can we anonymize the data in a way where it's not a threat, yeah? Where it is a community benefit. Like I've, you know, gone out on a limb there and sort of expressed a fairly strong view, but what I can tell you is the benefit of being able to use data efficiently and safely and effectively far outweighs, in my opinion, the need to silo it and compete with each other.
Okay, just before the discussion that we are having now was the presentation about air mobility, and we have been promised self-driving fleets for more than a decade. Yet we still see that autonomy still struggles with scale and regulation on a global landscape. Is autonomous technology for fleets at risk of becoming perhaps another overpromised tech frontier, or are we finally going to cross that border from pilot to profit?
I think it took longer than expected, for sure, but you see constantly evolution. So if you use a fairly modern car these days, it is semi-autonomous, like if you think about highways and everything and things these vehicles can do. So that's a step ahead. There will be further steps to come, and you have to differentiate between trucks and cars and so on. I do also agree that maybe the complexity in technology and regulation and everything was a bit underestimated, but we're clearly, in my view, on the path to fully autonomous vehicles being on the road within the next few years, whatever few means. Yeah.
You as well, Eden?
Look, I'm certainly bullish on the technology, yeah, and we've seen it, you know, if you go to America and you enjoy Waymos and the like. I actually saw a Waymo in Tokyo. I've been trying to figure out whether they're allowed there. I was in Tokyo a couple of weeks ago, and there was one on the street. I couldn't believe it. I actually think I don't know how soon it'll be, and particularly in a commercial aspect, yeah? What I would say is I think we're moving to a frictionless society before an autonomous one. So where a lot of decisions are being made and automation is a really big part of our culture and the way that we do business. To me, that's on the immediate horizon in the next few years. I would love to see autonomous, but I also believe that if we can really master the processes to be frictionless, by the time autonomous comes, by the time the machines are making decisions about where they go and where they get serviced, the technology and the data providers will be there to help streamline that process. So I actually think frictionless before automation.
Okay, that's clear. The final question, the short answer. If we meet again in 5 years from now, 2030, how do you imagine that AI will have visibly changed day-to-day fleet management? Christoph.
That's a good question. So I believe, picking up on your term frictionless, it will be frictionless. So the fleet manager will have the possibility to use a lot of automated processes that run in the background and only like step in when really needed and take care of the, let's say, exemptions of the process. So a lot of automatization that will relieve him from day-to-day tasks, manual tasks, for sure.
So he can, or she can focus much more on strategic decision-taking, less than operation.
Absolutely, that's what I think. It's like a self-running fleet, if you like.
Eden?
I think the thing that'll make all fleet managers in the room happy is the portability of data. So AI is connecting systems like never before. And how many times do you hear, people in this industry going, I just can't see what's going on. I can't see the whole portfolio. I don't know what's happening with this or that. I've got data in all sorts of pockets. So that'll be the first thing that will fundamentally change how we operate and our awareness, visibility. I think the next one will certainly be a lot of automation, but I think we need to remember that we are still building technology for people. Like, we're not in the phase yet of building technology for machines. So the human in the loop is critical. It's not here to replace us. It's here to help us get more done. And the human is still the trust layer. So I think that we'll be right in the center of each of the decisions, but hopefully not having to pick up the phone or muck around with spreadsheets.
Perfect. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you for sharing your insights, and thank you also for being with us here in Luxembourg. Christoph?
Thank you for having us.
Eden, thank you very much.